Hello, hello, hello.
Hey.
Hello, 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 everybody. This is very special TNT Conversations, and we are live, going around the world with my dear friends, special guest tonight, the Honorable Bishop Noel Jones from the City of Refuge in Gardena, California, and of course, the Worldwide Ministry. And the Honorable Bishop Clinton House from Mountaintop Faith in Las Vegas, Nevada. And he's got a global ministry too. And these two gentlemen have been dear friends for a long time, and we're honored to be able to glean what we can from both of them tonight. And I'm your host, Pastor Stephen Hamilton, and we are blessed to just be live once again. We're at our special time today to be able to get some of our East Coast and friends on and be able to see them, and for them to be able to witness this. And we are blessed to have these two great leaders, and to be able to kind of help us all get through or point us in the right direction about where we're going next. Starting a series, this series on TNT entitled What's Next? And so as many of us are starting to make plans and make provisions to return back to in-person worship and in-person dining and all these other things, that businesses are opening up again, I think it was a great time for us to be able to come together and see where my friends are and see what they're up to. I'm grateful to be able to see both of them. I was just telling them it's been a long time since I've seen them, so it's good to see them, even if it's only online. And I see both of them are looking well, and everything is going well for them. But we are also just grateful that the Lord has kept us over a year now of being semi-locked down, and so at least out of our churches. So it's been a challenging year, but it's also been a year where God has shown His hand. So with that in mind, I want to tell all of you that are coming on now, feel free to, on whatever platform you're on. We're on Facebook, on multiple pages. We're on, I hope Bishop House and Bishop Jones are sharing it. Their followers are sharing it. But make sure you let everybody know that these two men are live, and we're going to be covering a lot of ground. But hopefully we'll be answering a lot of your questions and kind of giving you some great insight into where they're going and what's going on with them. And it's a privilege to have them. Make sure you share this. Make sure you have your notifications. Tell your people on YouTube and wherever they are that we are live, and we are excited about what God has for us tonight. So Bishop House, Bishop Jones, how are you doing, both of you, gentlemen? Don't all speak at once, but just go ahead. Feel free. We're just have a conversation.
Please, my Bishop.
Oh, good. You said Bishop House first, so I just assumed that he would lead out.
Go ahead, House.
Listen, it's so wonderful to be with you guys tonight. I'm thankful for the friendship through the years, and even to be a part of this session tonight. It's a wonderful thing. Looking forward to the conversation. I'm happy to be a part of it. And things are going well, and look for things to even get better.
All right.
Well, with that protracted opening, Steve, it seems as if you have become quite acclimated to being online. To tell everybody to share and reach for everybody's platform so that more people will be addressed by whatever we do. And that means you are quite acclimated to the space you're in.
Well,
so the question we're going to ask you is, when are you going
Well, I'd say that's a good question. It's funny. I get that. I'm sure you guys get it a lot too. But I'm getting that question like every day now. Somebody's making mention of when are we opening. Matter of fact, a couple of hours ago, I had someone talk to me about when we're opening. I'll say it like this, like I've been telling everybody, we're working on it, and hopefully, I will just put it like this. Hopefully, by the beginning of May, we should be trying to flow into some sort of opening. We are going to have a couple of contingency plans in place. One is, if you're having, certain numbers or capacity, and then we're definitely going to, in this familiar space where you say we're comfortable with it, we're going to definitely keep that going. We understand that there are some people that aren't coming back or may not be comfortable coming back. And they have really gotten acclimated to the online space. So we're going to make sure we're definitely trying to minister to them and make sure we keep it going. So that's a good question, Bishop. And that's what everybody's asking. Now, how's you? All right, I know we're y'all are bishops and all that, but how's you're already kind of sort of back, right?
We are back. We're 50% occupancy for the size of the building. So we could put a good group in there just doing one service. And it's going well, just trying to be duality, trying to go between online and in person. And people with masks on and trying to get them comfortable. So it's a different setting.
How did you, Bishop and Bishop Jones, you're still.
I'm still out. We're not back at all. They're doing some things there. The praise team, they're singing and they're preparing for our Sundays, and I haven't gone. I went today because I had to do something very special for the Unification Church. But other than that, I have not been in the building. And I have been home, working from home. I received many emails from people around the globe who were saying, please, when you go back to church, do not stop doing what you're doing. And my advice to anyone and to everyone who is in this space right now, because of the pandemic, you're going to have church in a hybrid kind of a way. You're going to have to have an online presence into perpetuity. And you're going to also have to go back. Now, going back is going to be primarily for those who have always been going to church.
Right,
but
right.
But the Z generation and the late blooming millennials and that group of people, they're going to be online. They're going to be evangelized online, and they're going to be strengthened online. Not that they won't come to church periodically when something special is operating, but they are going to be evangelically online, and they're going to be fed online, and they're going to be online primarily.
Yeah.
So anyone who isn't prepared for that is going to be in serious trouble.
I think that, and going with what Clinton has said and what you're saying, Bishop Jones, is that I'm not sure a lot of folks were ready when the shutdown happened, and they were trying to pull back their online presence. But the thing is that this is how everybody's been consuming things now for a number of years. I think about the fact that Netflix changed everything, even about how we consume entertainment. And now we want to be able to watch it on our own terms, and they do the same thing now with church. They watch it on their own terms, and they watch it. And they want to be on the go. They want to be able to, get it as they're moving. And so you're absolutely right. And I think it's important, as you were saying, to have that hybrid model. And I know that, but I want to say that I want to ask this question though, going back to what Clinton was saying. How was the transition for you, or how has it been, Bishop House? How have you adjusted? Are you still pivoting? Are you still
still pivoting, still making the adjustments. Growing up in church, understanding how going to church was, 30 years pastoring, and now all of that changes in a moment. So I'm pivoting, trying to find that new rhythm and how to present it. And if it's slowly moving in me to pivot, I can only imagine what the congregation feels like. And those that are traditionals and boomers, they're like, what is this? So making the proper adjustments, presentation, tightening the message, making sure it's uplifting and giving hope in a pandemic. But the pivoting is still adjusting, still making the changes.
Yeah.
Oh, let me say this too. Let me say this. When we had people who came to church and they sit in a certain seat in a certain section, and now they got to come in with social distancing. They can't get to where they used to be. They're got a mask on. So the comfort is discomforting. I'm here, but I'm really not here.
Do you, and that's one of the things I keep trying to emphasize to those that keep asking me about when we're opening. I said, look, it's going to be different. Yeah, it's going to be different. It's not going to go back, as Bishop Jones, it's not going to go back to that, all of us just the same things we always were doing. And I think a lot of folks are having a hard time wrapping their brains around that. So let's go back a year. What was the first thing you guys had to deal with, or what was a major thing? Bishop Jones, we'll start with you on this one. How was the initial adjustment, and how has this year been? I want to say this. I remember the first time you and I met. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember the first time you and I met. I was your armor bearer in Oakland, California, at a youth convention. Yeah, when you were out here preaching for our youth convention, and
you sure that wasn't in Bakersfield?
No, it was Oakland, because I remember I was your armor bearer, and I thought to myself, I said, well, I need to make sure that I have, this was, you were still in Texas at the time. And I said, well, let me make sure that I get a chance to ask Bishop Jones a question, or at the time it was District, we always called you Bishop anyway. And I said, let me make sure I ask him whatever questions I want to ask, because I don't know if I'm ever going to get this opportunity again. I asked you, how do you do everything that you do? You were, pastoring, of course, in Longview, Texas, and traveling all over the country and preaching everywhere. And I'm like, how do you do it? And you pointed to the fact that you had a lot of your material with you on the road. And I was like, okay, I learned. I'm like, okay, I'm taking notes mentally. And I remember you saying that you wanted to, this is interesting, take a year off and just write. Because you said, and this stuck with me, you said, because I know there's another level out there. That's what you told me. And I'm like, if he's going for another level,
come on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to the level he was 5 years ago. And so it stuck with me as a young preacher. So I thought about that when I was going to ask you this question. Okay, you've had a year away from traveling. I know that must have been an absolute major adjustment for you, because you're always gone. So how was that, and what were you able to do?
Well, initially, to just give you some perspective, just before the shutdown, indeed and in fact, when the virus was in Wuhan, I was asked to make a trip to Korea, and I called my congresswoman to see whether or not I should make a run to Wuhan, to anywhere in that region, because of what was happening. And we came to the conclusion that it had not yet moved to any great distance. But I said that to say this, that just immediately before the lockdown, I literally went around the world. I left LA, flew across the country, flew across the Atlantic, and that was one day traveling to London. I preached 2 days in London, and on the fourth day from leaving home, I left London. I flew across Europe, then Eastern Europe, then Afghanistan, then Uzbekistan, then I flew across Russia, Mongolia, China, and then down into Korea. I say 2 days. That was 1, 2, 3. The fourth day On the fifth day, I preached 2 times. So that's now the seventh day. On the eighth day, I left and I flew across the Pacific back home. And
Wow.
I got a day back. So I literally went around the world in 8 days. And after that, it was completely shut down. I
Wow.
liken that to the average person who psychological debilitation because of the shutdown was probably on a stool and they jumped off the stool
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't have that kind of travel arrangement. But
Mm-hmm.
if you were to compare that with me, I was jumping off of a 10 or 15-story building to hit the ground psychologically.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened was I got a chance to get a taste of retirement.
Oh.
You see,
Oh.
which is something that I never ever
Right.
had within my cognitive perspective. I never had a thought of what retirement would be like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I've been on a plane 4 times a month since I was 27 years old.
Right. Right.
Every month since I was 27.
Mm-hmm.
But here has happened. While I was on the road, as you remember, I had
Mm-hmm.
all my messages with me.
Yeah.
So all I could do is ask God, what do I have to preach in this particular place?
Right.
But I was not studying to go to every
Mm-hmm.
place that I went to go to preach.
Right.
But
Right.
for this last year, I have achieved that next level
Mm-hmm.
because
Wow.
I am spending 8 to 10 hours daily in the Bible. Now I'm answering questions. I'm the Ann
Mm-hmm.
Landers of the scriptures. And so I'm constantly being fed in the
Uh-huh.
scriptures. And now, because I don't have the planes to catch, I have the ability now to sit and meditate and study
Mm-hmm.
various writers, different commentaries,
Right.
and
Right.
put things together in a manner I couldn't do it. So personally, I
Mm-hmm.
am better off by not traveling. And as Bishop Golder said, I needed to pack up. Well, that's what God did, and you can't blame me for being home.
That's it. Awesome. 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 Wow. So now we can't wait to see what's coming when you're back, or when you're back able to give it out. That's going to be amazing.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's
I
going to
can't
be
wait.
amazing from the point of view that I will probably not hoop anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I probably won't shake the mic and threaten my teeth anymore.
Every once in a while, though,
Yeah, we might give it five.
you got to give us a little bit, man.
But what you have to give thought to is, and I liken this to the temple. It may not be an exact metaphor, but if you remember when they built the new temple,
Mm-hmm.
the old members,
Right.
they cried
They cry.
because they knew what the original temple was
Mm-hmm.
like.
Right.
The new people were rejoicing
Because they had
because
a spot.
they had a temple now,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't know what the other one was like.
Right.
And I think that the people who are anxious to go back and want things to revert to what it was are those who know about being in church.
Mm-hmm.
But the next generation that's going to populate our churches are not going to be people
Right.
who know what church is like. They're going to be people who know what being online is like.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if the question continues to what pastors and preachers should do now, and what people should do who want to begin ministries now, is begin that ministry online. Make sure that your backdrop is very attractive. Make sure that your camera system is 4K and up to speed, so that when somebody makes a move to your address, they will want to stay.
Absolutely.
Because the growth of your church is not going to be contingent on the folk who used to go to church.
Come on.
Because
Come on.
God knows I don't know what mine will look like, because so many of my seniors have died in the COVID.
Yes.
You see, so it's going to be, and I think that we shouldn't just sit around and let the circumstances decide how we function. I think if we've got vision and we're leaders at all, we should determine and we should design and define what
Yes.
tomorrow is.
So
Agreed.
now, Bishop House, I'll ask you this: do you think it was changing before the pandemic anyway, before the shutdown? Do you think how we were, the number of people that we were looking at, depending on, it seemed like studies have shown that sometimes church attendance was, in-person attendance was on the decline anyway.
It was.
So,
for us, it had plateaued.
Yeah.
For us, it had plateaued, and it started percolating up and down, more so down than up. Those people got used to first Sunday I'll go, and maybe I'll go to fourth Sunday. Then they got used to, well, who's singing this Sunday?
I see.
And there are guest speakers. So all that movement started happening. We spoiled them to the point that, well, not spoiled, but we made church so easy and so accommodating that people had choices. With 2 services, I can come to one or the other. It was declining. It was
Right.
Yeah. I concur. I concur.
You say the same thing, Bishop?
Listen, I told them, I told my staff, I said, give me a 10-year view. Give me a 10-year view of the attendance in the city of Refuge. And the 10-year view indicated without a doubt that there was a decline in the attendance in church. So now that the pandemic is hit, I am going to downsize. I don't see any need for 6,000 seats anymore.
Right.
I'm going down to 2,000.
Yeah.
That's what is the optimum number for me. I'm going to downsize. And I'm going to downsize for another reason, and that is if the person, I'm 71 and I will hang until somebody's in place and until somebody can catch their breath and catch their stride. But the question now is if they don't have my footprint,
right,
and they're not going to be able to carry the numbers I have, and I need to put them in a position where they will not lose.
So you're going to put them in a position to succeed.
I have to put them in a position to succeed because the whole legacy of the City of Refuge / Bethany Community Church is now going to be in the hands of someone who takes over from me. And my father said to me, you're never a success if you don't have a successor.
Absolutely.
Agree. Totally agree.
Were there any, challenges you all face? Bishop, you alluded to losing senior members. And that's been one of the, I think I want to talk a little bit about the emotional and psychological toll it's taken on leaders and pastors, because we're not able to minister like we've been used to ministering in terms of being able to be with families and grieve with them. I mean, you can't even go into the hospitals in many cases. How did you all cope with that mentally and emotionally, that this just being away from the people? Was that a difficult challenge for you? House, you can jump on it first, and Bishop, you can.
It was emotionally draining for me because of what you mentioned, the connect with people, and God designed us to shepherd, under shepherd, and to move that away from you, and then they're losing loved ones and they're sick, you can't visit them, you're FaceTiming them or streaming. So that was a draining part of it. I couldn't put myself in that mode. I couldn't get myself balanced because I was just constantly being depleted. And then to study and prepare and to bring a message and a subject, you can feel the drain and pull of the people looking for an answer, hope in a pandemic. What is going to get us out of this? So that was just constantly a pull, knocking everything out of balance inside of you, but like a boxer in the ring, you get punched, you got to go back out and go another round. So it was very challenging. So I'm gonna need some therapy after all this.
Amen. Yeah.
Don't come to me.
I would ask you about your therapist, Bishop.
We're going to have to bring somebody in who was on another planet because I think everybody on the planet has been affected.
Right.
So maybe the person who could comfort us and counsel us is the person who recovers quickest.
Oh, I like that.
So
All right.
maybe we better hold on until somebody has
Somebody gets
recovered,
back
and then
quick.
we can
I got
find somebody. Because if we go too quickly, we'll all just jump over the edge of the cliff.
Right.
I would say that the thing that would bother me, I think it goes both ways. The first thing that I had to do was find something to rejoice in. And the thing that I found to rejoice in was that God allowed this pandemic and allowed it to be worldwide, but he allowed it at a time where we could communicate with our congregations, whether through a telephonic means or whether through social media means, the internet. And that was what I was rejoicing about. I said, Lord, you allowed it to come and you let it come upon us without any warning, without any prophetic utterance of any kind. Somebody said, yes, we did utter with, the prophets did say something about it. I said, God is not using a prophet who is speaking to a couple of people in the bushes if he wants to announce something that's happening internationally. Please.
Thank you.
So if you said it over in your little corner to your children, that did not change anything for all of us. He did not give us the warning through any prophetic word. It happened overnight. And so I had to find something to say, well, Lord, what did you do to offset the cataclysmic extirpation of us just being totally cut off? And he showed me very clearly, you still can communicate.
Yes.
The next thing he showed me was, now you will have the opportunity to see if everything that you have presented is strong enough for people to maintain their own walk with God, independent of leaning on your shoulders every day.
Right.
That was the second thing that I realized. The third thing I realized was that I was addicted to being around the people that I pastored. I found that I was addicted to the hugs. I was addicted to the conversation. I was even addicted to their response to what I did. Oh, Pastor, that was a great message. Oh, thank you. Oh, Lord. And I discovered that, yes, there was a big hole in not being able to celebrate people who had died. And because that celebration helps to comfort family members when others come and speak joyfully and wonderfully about those you love. And I thought that was a big pain. And then again, the God of all comfort, he had to step in on that level. But I found that I had many hangups about not being around the people of God and being with the church. And I understand now how they fueled and helped to drive me to another level of relationship.
No, you're absolutely right. I think that that's one of the things that was most troubling for many of us. And I love how you phrased it. We were addicted to it. And it's interesting to know that I don't think people understand that. The congregation doesn't understand how much we feed off of them. That's why I think it's so difficult for some pastors to be able to present the gospel if you only had, a handful of people, literally like a staff that's there to be able to kind of respond to you. And so, but to be able to rethink it, I think most of our challenge was how we thought and how we operated in our brain in terms of, okay, what does this mean? And then I love how you put it, that you were trying to say, what could you find joy in? Because I think the big challenge we had, at least I can say for myself, was I had to try to be able to give the people hope, as Bishop House had talked about. I had to be able to try to raise them up a bit because so many people were complaining. So many people are upset. So many people are scared. And I think we have to be able to give that to them in whatever means. And I think you're absolutely right that we were able to find a way to still communicate, still connecting with people and being able to, and still deliver the gospel.
Yes.
I had heard Bishop House told me a quote that you had given him when you all were having a conversation. And you said, it's not like we're actually giving people the Holy Ghost anyway. So it's going to be up to the Lord to do that anyway. He's going to be the one that makes that transfer. He's the one that saves folks. So it's important for us to make sure we understand what we can do, what we can't do, and how we can still lift people a little higher. So I thank both of you for being able to give us that insight and that input on that level. Let's see.
Before you move, Steve,
go ahead.
Another one of the emotional things was the media, television was dealing with the facts of an unseen enemy, but they were driving so much fear. They were driving so much fear. About time you came back around to do a message on a Sunday or midweek, you got all of that fear to push through or work through. That was challenging.
Yes.
And to piggyback on that, that fear was real.
Yes.
That was a real concern, because here is a virus that you cannot see. You pretty soon, if you understood the science, you had to assume everybody had it. You had to assume whoever was around you had it. You had to assume that it was on every doorpost. You had to assume that it was on the fork you were about to put in your mouth. So yes, the fear was extraordinary.
Yeah.
And then because of the suddenness of it coming on us and the response of the people of God, another thing it forced me to do is to check the validity and credulity of what it was I was presenting.
What are we preaching?
What was I preaching, so that the children of God weren't able to move smoothly through this without asking questions about where is God and how did he allow this to come upon us, and what have we done, and is this the last days, and on and on and on. And this brought me to deal with the whole issue of the today's prophetic, as opposed to
we saw that, Bishop, when you were expressing that, and so heartfelt and so gut-wrenching, really, when you were talking about, why didn't they tell us? We didn't pay them all this money. We flying them everywhere, and then nobody saw it. And so, but you both are right on point when you talk about the fact that not only did we have the fear and anxiety about the pandemic, then we also had the racial unrest.
Yes, very significant.
That tension, and then you got the election tension and the whole. So we've been off balance. It's almost like we've all been off balance all year, for a whole year, and we're still trying to, navigate through it. But the Lord helped us get through it, and we're still coming out of it. But I think it's important to understand that, and as a leader, you have all these things going on at the same time, and your own personal, you're talking about the fear. Any of us get a couple of cough that don't.
Is that COVID?
Wondering what is this? You get scared when you got a scratchy throat. So but again, you're wondering, what can we do? And so it's just, I think that was the main thing, and I think that's why many of us even now are tired. I'll be glad when we can have this conversation in Vegas and hang out, and chill out, or go over to Jones's house and chill out. But again,
I think you make it
to understand that this is wearing on us as leaders.
And then you're making a good point when we understand the perfect storm that we were in, that then we're still the vestiges and the aftermath. It's still out there,
right?
Because when you consider the complicity, because we were so quiet about the social situation that we find ourselves in, and most of our members have to deal with the social situation that we still find ourselves in, and then the next. Not only did the pandemic cause me to question our credulity from a scriptural point of view, but the fact that when the unrest began and the leaders of the the social amelioration and emancipation movement, the leaders were not clergy.
Right.
The leaders were people that we ostracized, criticized, demonized, departmentalized, people who we preached on.
Right.
And they are leading our people out of a social injustice situation. And the question I asked myself was, how were we so complicit with our theocratic vocational responsibility? Why are they leading us? And I come to find out because the Moseses of today, we are the Moseses of today, but we have become so happy about being called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, and we can leave the riches of Egypt to lead the people because we have become so caught up in our lifestyles.
Right.
And then I discovered there's a great divide between evangelical preachers.
I was waiting. I knew you were coming. Come on. You got to go there because
it's big trouble.
It was a year of exposure. It was a year where folks got exposed. We saw where they are. We saw where they weren't. We saw, and it's interesting that you put it like that because it's so true. Where are the real, spiritual, where are the religious leaders? Where are those that, are supposed to be trying to step up and help us? Which reminds me, Tim Finley Jr., our friend and brother, is running for mayor of Louisville, Kentucky, but he was on the front lines during the summer, during the protests, trying to make sure that his voice was heard. And we thank God for that. Let's see. How she wanted to chime in on that too. I felt in my spirit you had something you were throwing in.
No, I'm being intrigued by Bishop Jones and the knowledge and the insight.
See, this is what him taking a year off does. That's why he's just dropping bombs left and right.
Well, I'm the old man in the club.
Well, that may be true, but
the interesting thing, and what you and let me just throw this in. This might not be on the subject at all, but what you gentlemen don't understand is that my shelf life, the only reason I have any shelf life, is because I'm in touch with people like you who are in touch with the contemporary environment that you're a part of. I'm passing out. I have one leg out and the other on a banana peel, really. And the only thing that gives me shelf life and keeps me contemporary is because I'm in touch with people who are in touch with the group of people that need us the most right now. And that's what keeps me here. But we have a great divide. And I want to tell you this, that as long as the church is divided, I think the church has helped to augment the division that is in America right now. And the thing that it really hurts me is that we have reduced the significance of our theocratic calling literally to become minions and sycophants to political parties and to political leaders. Anytime we sell out our transcendence, because as a spokesman for God, we transcend democracy, we transcend autocracy, we transcend monarchy, we transcend oligarchy, we transcend socialism and communism. Because we are the voice of God. Now, people argue we need to speak truth to power. Well, what are you talking about? Are we speaking up to power or are we speaking down to power? They go to John the Baptist, and of course Herod took John the Baptist's neck. And people say, well, you speak truth to power. Well, I say to any preacher, if you're going to speak to any government official, particularly the one who just left out, if you're going to speak to anybody who has that kind of mentality, well, expect to lose your head.
That's it.
Maybe not literally, but somebody's going to dig up something.
And it might be literally. Yeah.
And maybe that's why we were so quiet, because we had a lot of stuff in our closets that we dare not open our mouth too loud and somebody go and check our closets and we have big trouble. But my point is that even though John lost his head by Herod, Herod was not above or superior to John, because Jesus said, no man born of a woman, and that includes Herod, is greater than John. But you and I, who are least in the kingdom.
Preach, Bishop. Talk to me.
So we're not speaking up when the president invites me to the White House. I don't sell out the church.
Come on.
I mean, it's his privilege to come to the church more than it's my privilege to go to the White House. And yet still I saw myriads of our brothers sitting in the White House extolling the virtues of a man who will grab women in their secret parts. I'm done.
And come on, Bishop, listen, you said it. You said it all. And with that in mind, what do you think about the church as a whole? Where are we? There's been a lot of leadership shifting and changing. What would you both, how do you look at, how do you view, even if you just look at the Pentecostal church, or you look at the Black church, what do you think, where do you think we are? What's going on? How do you feel we are, where we're going directionally?
Clinton?
Yes, Bishop often speaks, Bishop Jones often speaks of Matthew 25. That's one of his classics. I think the church now is being mandated to touch lives, to help people, to go beyond the walls. For a while, for a long time, we talked about church beyond the walls, going beyond the walls, witnessing outside, doing other social and community ministry things. The interior of the Spirit-filled church, that will be there. Upon this rock, I'll build my church. I won't prevail against it. But now for the church to be relevant, we're going to have to keep doing what we should have been doing all along, connecting with Hopes for Prisoners, 3 Square, other programs, seeing people at their lowest need and picking them up, and seeing the church being a function and not dysfunctional. Hope I'm saying that.
Awesome. I love it. Bishop Jones.
Yes, sir. I piggyback on my bishop very, very tightly, because what we have failed to do over the years, and it's been a travesty, and that is that we have become so mystical and ontological that we stop being practical. And where we have failed our people the most is that we gave the impression that if you love God, you can rub the Bible and call the name of Jesus, and Jesus becomes a magic genie who will come out and just do everything that you need him to do. And then you have no personal responsibility and you have no personal effort. So for the years, what we have done is we have totally eliminated a simple word, and that's discipleship. And discipleship is born out of discipline.
Yes.
Many people that fought mass, just wearing a simple mask, was in trouble because of a lack of discipline, a lack of discipleship, not only to science, but to anything.
Right.
And we have not schooled our kids into understanding how important education is. We have not schooled our members to understand how significant physical health is.
Yes, sir.
And that's why when this pandemic hit, it's killing our people more, because our people are less conscious of their health. And most of us in church as pastors set a terrible example.
Right.
At 12 and 1 o'clock in the morning, we're eating as if it's 12 noon. And we do all of this in the name of God. Whereas now, if a church is going to exist, you got to deal with homelessness, you got to deal with early learning centers, education, you got to deal with early prostitution, you got to deal with human trafficking. You got to deal with prisoners. Anybody who has a church where 1/3 of our boys are being incarcerated and does not have a ministry that brings prisoners back into society,
Yes, sir.
you're wasting your time.
Right. Right.
Well
That's
said.
where we are.
Well said.
And we've got it, Lord. And here's what God did. God put us all on hiatus, and he's given us time to think this thing through and come out of this doing it right.
Right.
And nobody can blame us. They couldn't say, well, oh, Pastor been away a year. He had to go repent. He had to go and reconsecrate and rededicate. God covered us that way. Even though we have to, he covered. He said, I'm going to cover all these old people that won't do the right thing.
He gave us all time.
I'm going to send a pandemic so they all can repent. And the folks don't have to know.
Get the whole year off.
Yeah. So the folk don't have to know. Yeah.
Oh, the one and only Noel Jones, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say this. All right, what do you? Let me get this. I know we're coming upon almost only 10 minutes or so to go, 12 minutes. What do you think? What do you say about the mental health aspect in terms of your members? Is there anything that you are, and let me say this, not just the members, from leadership, from pastors, entrepreneurs, all that, how critical is mental health to the future of the church, the existence of the church? I think we need to start addressing, we were talking about prison, talking about homeless, but I think we also in our communities really need to start addressing the mental health challenges that so many of us are facing, because we don't really talk about it a lot in church.
Right.
But I think this last 2020 and into 2021 is taught us that we're going to have to address that in a really major way. What do both of you have to say about that? What do you think?
Steve, we've already started building and strengthening that with identifying our professional therapists within the church. We have also groups that have us mentoring and support groups to put in a call center that can reach people and find out where they're at, what their needs are, and just really just building that, strengthening that, so people don't feel like they're left alone. The pandemic isolated people, made them feel that they were abandoned. So we're trying now to build that faith and that encouragement back up to let them know somebody is there for you. If you want help, you can get help. So we're working on that.
Awesome, yeah. Awesome. Bishop Jones.
See, again, you understand the machination of the mind of an individual who is not afraid to challenge what has been a theological no-no.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
In our circles for years and years. And the pandemic, social unrest, and the attack on our democracy, which is, of course, a great affront and very threatening to minorities and Black folk, more than it is to the status quo.
Yes,
absolutely.
Because whenever you get rid of all people are created equal, we are in trouble more than anybody else. But what that did was, and being away from the gathering, which is soothing and comforting, that did was put everybody who was previously on edge,
come on, Bishop,
over the edge.
Over the edge.
Yes,
they went over the edge. So now, for those who are insightful as Bishop House, immediately we have, and the key word now is identified, that we have not a demon operating.
Right.
Physical mental health problem.
Yes, sir.
We can address that scientifically.
Yes, sir.
Without having to pray all night, casting out devils, and cast out all the devils you want. That person has a mental problem, and it ain't got nothing to do with a devil.
Ain't got nothing to do with the devil.
Jesus cast out devils, and then he healed sick folk.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Some folks have a devil. Some folk are sick in the mind.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And that needs to be addressed. And I am telling you that that is one of the things you have to do. Now, let me make it easy for those who think we got to raise offerings to do this. If you have a track record of meeting the needs of the people in your community, you can partner with your government.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Then, because they have money for everything we need, but they just don't have enough churches with enough pastors and administration that they can trust.
That's right. You're absolutely right, Bishop. And that's one of the things we've done even during the pandemic. We started having the men and the women are every month they got a chance to be able to talk. The self-care sessions, and they're helping them with radical self-care and trying to get them get people to be able to have a space to talk and let them. The first thing was just letting people know it's okay to talk about mental health.
Thank you.
In our families, in our churches, in our communities. We have to make it okay, and matter of fact, make it a benefit to be able to address these situations and be able to tackle that challenge, because a lot of the issues we have consistently in our churches and in our communities is because of mental health. A lot of the pastors that are giving up and quitting and messing up have to deal with their mental and emotional health as well.
Exactly.
So I applaud both of you. Both of you are absolutely right. Brilliant.
And have nowhere to go. And have nowhere to go with it. Pastors particularly have nowhere to go with it.
No,
because they can't. Who are they going to talk to?
Who are they going to talk to?
You can't talk to your rival because he's trying to put it out so he can conquer your members. You can't talk down to somebody because they're already hating where you are. You better talk up to somebody who doesn't have anything to gain or lose by whatever you do or don't do. But we have to correct our theology.
Come on.
Our biblical presentation is off. I am finding out that people don't want personal responsibility for their life in Christ. So what they do is they make everything a demon.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. We don't have much time, and I can't introduce this because it's a whole subject by itself. But now it's out there in church, people, that demons are having sex with women in their sleep. And I think it's preachers who have promoted this in order to have some control, letting people know I gotta cast this out.
I gotta cast this out of you.
And you better have a seed. You better have a seed. Into perpetuity. But my whole point is, when is it theologically sound to believe that a spirit that doesn't have a body can interact outside of a body with another body and give them any kind of physical satisfaction? Something wrong with your thinking. And if you're going to allow your thinking to become that loose, then you're going to incorporate in your thinking every damaging kind of thought that will bring you ruin and bring you to a wrecked place. And our theology has to change, where we have to tell people the devil has not been annihilated, but the devil has been defeated. The great fight of the child of God is not the devil. It's the old man, new man fight. The battle is an internal battle.
Yes, sir.
And whatever you're going to bed with a lot of sex on your mind, I told one person, that's just a nymphomaniac desecration of the magnificent omnipotence of God. If you got all that on your mind is going to play it back. Don't blame it on a demon. Play it on the fact that your mind is not stayed on him. I will keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on me. He guards our mind.
Come on, Bishop.
You see, no demon. You need to talk to a shrink, a psychiatrist. You need to talk to somebody when you have problems that are brought on because of mental stress.
Yes, sir.
And we preachers need to talk to somebody.
Well, I think we're supposed to have some time for questions, but I don't know if we have it. I think Bishop Jones has answered every question that we probably could have had.
I don't know.
Bishop House, you guys have been absolutely amazing. Any thoughts as we have the last few minutes to go? And we got some time. We got time. But anyway, just what would you give to the young leader, the young the pastor going, trying to debate? What parting words would you want to give to an entrepreneur, somebody with their business? What would you like to say in terms of the future? What do you think is next? What do you see coming? How should we flow?
Well, I would like Clinton to answer that, and I would like to have a question or two. I would like to hear.
Okay.
It would give me an idea of what the audience is being pressured about in their own environment.
Yeah.
Okay. But Clint can answer that quite well.
The business side, Steve?
Yes.
Where do you see it going? And we're going to try to gather some questions while you guys are still, okay, if we can.
For his business, starting a business, a great time to do that, but it has to be something that is applicable for this time, what people are needing right now. Getting to good investments and making sure you put your money, diversify your money in things that are moving during this time, stocks, bonds, etc. Wanting to be able to start something that's going to be lasting and something that's going to be impactful for a person's life. That's what I would see in business. Governmental also actions or governmental projects, interacting with the government and working in some of their programs. So you can get yourself off the ground.
What do you think as far as pastors and leaders, as far as reopening, but whatever, what do you see coming? You touched on it earlier, but go ahead.
Well, if I would talk about pastors and leaders. And
okay.
There are a few things that I think are very important for pastors and leaders. One, you have to now become very liquid. You have to be like water. You have to be very flexible. The rigidity of 40, 50 years has got to change completely. You have to be extremely flexible right now. To recover economically, the second thing is you're going to have to relate to each other. You're going to have to find ministerial partner. Here's what I'm saying. There are certain fixed costs that 4 young ministers can handle together. And that is, you buy a building or you lease a building and you handle the rent together. You come in at 10 to 12, somebody is before you at 7 to 9, an hour between the change. Because you're going to have cameras and you're going to have to be online, all you need to do is change the backdrop.
Yes, sir.
I would have changed the backdrop. The next pastor comes in, and when the camera comes on, they don't know that there was another pastor before you. And 4 of you take each time. You buy the cameras together, you paid for the building together, you handle all the fixed costs together, and then the individuals who want to promote their churches and operate in their way, you pay for the cost of your own promotion, but you are sharing the building cost. That gives you a chance to grow. You have to change your attitude about women.
Yes, sir.
The misogynistic attitude that we have had. And for you preachers that have problems with that, I want you to take 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 5, and make it consistent, reconcile it to 1 Corinthians chapter 14, 34 and 35, and make them say the same. Because in 1 Corinthians 11, 5, he tells women to cover their head when they pray and when they prophesy.
Come on.
Which means their mouth is open in the church. In 11:14, he tells them, keep your women silent in the church. Now, which one is it? Right. So I want you to figure that out. You're gonna have to deal with women. You're gonna have to be flexible. You're gonna have to share costs. You're going to have to be bifocal. You're going to have to be online, and you're going to have to deal. You're going to have to have more than just going to church. You're
Right.
going to have to meet the community needs in every aspect, and then you will have a great ministry.
Awesome.
Excellent. That was
I saw. Let's see. I saw a comment. I don't know if we saw a question. We had some of you are putting the questions in the comments. Thank you for that. I want to say this too. This is going to be a series that I'm doing for the next few weeks. What's next? And the interesting thing, Bishop House and Bishop Jones, you both touched on. My subtopic is groundwork, legwork, and then teamwork.
wow.
That's what's groundwork, legwork, and teamwork, and all of that. You have all encapsulated that tonight with this, and of course, and let's see. One question. Anybody have a question that we can, or can you scroll it back down or something? Okay. Okay. One question. Do you think the pandemic will affect future financial offerings?
I can answer that.
Yes,
My
sir.
answer to that is, in light of the fact that the pandemic hasn't shut ministries down that are viable and that have met their needs, and those ministries are still alive today, my answer is categorically no. It will not affect the future. Indeed, and in fact, people who thank God for what they have been taught that has helped them to get through the pandemic, when they recover financially, they're going to bless the church even more.
Amen.
Those churches who didn't meet needs won't be having to ask that question because they won't be coming back.
I agree.
I saw somebody that asked, "Are the vaccines safe?" I did see that. I'm taking my second shot tomorrow, by the way. And Bishop, I think you've had both your shots.
Yes, and the reason is, in leadership, you have to make decisions to help other people to decide, and
Yes,
so
sir.
that's why I took mine. But I still tell people that you pray about it and you consult your family about it, and by the time it gets to you, you will know what to do. But let me say this: we know what we know what the virus is doing. The virus is taken out. There's 700, 600,000. We know that. We also know that the person who owns 75% of the patent for the virus happens to be a young, educated, brilliant, creative Black woman.
Right.
So one thing I know, Daddy might give you a hard time, but Mama ain't gonna kill you.
Bishop Mark Avery, I see you, man. What would you recommend for those who share their facilities? To those, I think Bishop Jones was talking about that, learning how to work together and work in cooperation with one another. It's going to be key.
Well,
and I think that we have to get this notion out of our head that we're competing with one another. We're not competing. We're all.
You know, I live in a town with Bishop Blake, with Bishop Ulmer, with the late Fred Price, with Bishop McClendon, and all of us go to dinner and lunch and sit and enjoy each other's company. Because there's certain things you have to understand. Whoever's going to come to me at 10 is not going to come to you at 12, who is not going to go to the other brother at 2, who is not going to go to the other brother at 4. But there are some people who are going to come to all of us. Period. I have members, and I say to Bishop Blake and say to Bishop Ulmer, well, they're members of all of our churches. So what are you going to do at the funeral? I mean, are you official? What are we doing? But the whole point is their people are generally drawn to whoever they need,
That's
whoever meets their need. Now,
Right.
if there is 4 of you in a building and all of you are different denominations, that makes it even easier.
Right.
Yes.
Because now you've got somebody committed to Baptist who don't want to be Methodist, who don't want to be apostolic, who don't want to be charismatic. So you won't have any real competition there.
That's right.
Well said.
Absolutely. I think, well, here's an interesting point, though. When everybody was online, and since everybody's been online, these folks are attending a whole bunch of churches every Sunday.
My God.
Folks are attending churches 4 or 5 days back, man.
You better have your thing together now.
We gonna know who can do what they can do with the shutdown. So now like you said, the ones that weren't able to survive is probably because they weren't able to flip, they weren't able to pivot, weren't able to adjust.
They weren't meeting needs in the first place.
Right.
If you're meeting needs, they're not leaving you. The people are staying where their needs are met.
Yes, sir.
That's where they're going.
I see one on here. Do we have an idea when you would like to return to the actual building of the actual church building? I think I answered that earlier, that we're looking at maybe May. Bishop Jones, do you have an idea that you want to share, or are you going to hold that?
Oh, that's one of your members, my friend. I am going to wait literally until summer or after summer. But
I got you.
Here's what's going to make my decision. I am going to get Bishop Ulmer and Bishop Blake, and I think we're going to come back in harmony.
Oh, that'll be awesome.
Nice.
That'll be awesome. I love it.
All of us to come back in harmony.
Really nice.
That'll be great. Someone says, when as my TNT series, I'll be back next Thursday night at 8:00. And
those are your members. I know it.
I'll be back next week at 8:00. Yes, sir.
Bishop said he had a couple of questions. Bishop Jones.
Yes. I don't want to rock the boat, but there is a question that's making relationships with the city, and what you do is what we did in the City of Refuge was we spent our own money until we were noticed. We did what had to be done for our community with our own money until the city and state said, you have done all this without us. Now they understood that they could trust us. So here's what I say to the individual who wants to move in this relationship. Start out small, start out on your own. Your politicians will come by because they want to take credit for the crowds that you have that are being fed. They want to be a part of that community blessing because it helps them. And ultimately, they will become the people who recommend whatever is going down the chute to come to you, because the city and state wants to trust you.
Yes, sir.
They want to trust you.
Excellent.
The questions that I would ask of my brothers is, what steps do we take, or should we take any step to bring consolidation and to bring reconciliation to our evangelical brothers? Should we, and what steps should we take to make that happen?
I will say this. I'll let House go second on that one. I think maybe the second question might be more important. Should we? But not that we want to discard them. You can't just okay, well, they're no good or this and that. But I think my thinking is that if there is to be reconciliation, I think it will have to be some transparency on their part. If they are, to take a scriptural term, bringing forth fruit meet for repentance. You know, in other words, are you willing to acknowledge, you know, the error? Are you willing to, and that it was off and it was wrong? And until that happens, I don't know how we can have any real discussion. Because if you're not going to be able to admit that there's a problem, or that there's an issue, or that there's racism, and there's all of these issues that we've been dealing with for all these years, that have a worship leader that'll be black, and some music that's black, and you have some black preachers that you're cool with, but you really don't rock with us like that. I think we need to see some real transformative change. That would be what I would be looking for.
I love it. I agree with that, Steve. To piggyback on that, I would try to start with the ones that I do have relationship with, because some of them are more palatable than others, and build with them, and then try to make that a farm. Mm-hmm. But find the ones that I do have relationships with and strengthen those ties, and then reach across the aisle for the other ones and see if they want to make the change and bring down the negative vibe that we've gotten for years. The segregated church, most segregated time for church in America is on Sunday mornings.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, we believe that we should make a move to come together.
I agree.
And,
I believe we should.
And the way to do it is to touch the people who we have relationships with, and then reach out to the others. Mm-hmm. The Holy Spirit being the single greatest unifier in the world, God being one, and anybody who comes in his space, things fall away. There's neither bond nor free, Jew nor Greek. There's neither male nor female. Anytime you come to Christ, he is so much one until that oneness in the body has to exist.
Right.
So the question is, since the Holy Ghost is the single greatest unifier
see where you're going
in the universe, and there is a divided church, obviously, is it possible that some people just don't have the Holy Ghost?
That's extremely possible.
Or is it possible that the white supremacist Christian believes biblically that they're superior to other races?
I think both things can be possible at the same time.
So again, we're back to, we have to change our theology.
And how we present it, and how it is, and the theology has to change. You're absolutely right. No question.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Well, we've gone over time. I think we're. I think we. On that note, I think we should. We can wind it up for tonight. I can't thank you guys enough for. Someone saying, could it be an ego issue? Could be too. But could we? I think. Thank you guys for just being able to be on.
Thank you.
And I was extremely blessed, and everybody was just really blessed by your presence, your wisdom. Both of you have really helped me. Clinton and I had a great conversation a few weeks ago. It was kind of the start of this whole thing, anyway. When I sent you guys a group text a few weeks ago with the song that Bishop Jones, "Relentless" by Brian Bromberg. I was going to play that tonight, but when you were in Tampa and driving back to Clearwater, and he kept playing that song over and over, and I was listening to it, and I thought about both of you and how much you mean to me and how much I missed you. And I said, well, let me, I said, I'm gonna call. Me and Clinton was reaching out to me. We were supposed to have a talk for 20 minutes. He told me, Steve, it's going to be 20 minutes, man. And we talked for over 3 hours, but it was But I love you both dearly, and I thank God for you. I'm sure that everybody that was on tonight was blessed beyond measure. We have to do it again sometime, and but I certainly appreciate your time and your wisdom and your love and your so thank God for you. I appreciate you both. Now, do you guys got anything you want to plug real quick? I know Bishop House has the amazing book Unplug. Amen. Unplug.
Fantastic.
Amen. He's got his. Oh, and thank you guys both too for all your help in getting my first book off the ground. And Bishop Jones wrote the forward, and Bishop House gave a review, and I saw Chandrella was on here. She gave a review, and Angela Winbush. But I mean, it wouldn't have been possible without both of you. And so anything else? What's on next on your agenda, real quick? House, what you got next?
Working with this charter school, trying to see if they want to come on the campus and take some of the property and expand that piece. Still working with 3 Square with feeding programs, and just trying to move on through this year, man.
Yeah, all right. Doing it. Bishop Jones.
Well, I'm working on really seeing who the next who my successor is, and I'm working on that, which will be ratified ultimately by the church. But right now it's in committee. I'm working on that. Then downsizing, of course, I'm working on a strategic location for that. I'm also now the landers of this theological world. So if you have any questions, then you hit me at bnj@noeljones.org. bnj@noeljones.org. bnj. Excuse me.
@noeljones.org.
Right. And the greater the list of questions is, the longer it'll take to get to you, but I will answer. And I'm doing it myself.
And he's doing it. He's actually doing it himself.
Wow. I'm doing it myself. Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
it's one of those inspiring things. And pretty soon, Bishop Jakes and I are going to be on April 16th. We're going to be dealing with Don't Drop the Mic. So Bishop Jakes and I will be on, and we'll talk about our history together and back and forth, 40 years of stuff. So that's going to be interesting.
Awesome. Well, again, I thank God for you, and I appreciate you. So all of you normal TNT folks, get the books. We got a couple of them now. Got mature audiences. Got mature audiences only. The second edition of mature audiences only with additional material, and the workbook is available. But that wouldn't have been possible without these 2 gentlemen, who are my big brothers and my dear friends, and I thank God for you. So God bless you all tonight. Hope you enjoyed it. And we will come back again one of these days and do it some more. And look forward to being able to hang out with Jones and House in person.
I love it.
Yeah. Love you guys.
God bless.